In the previous lesson, we talked about how we can use simple images to create lining in Twinmotion. And this technique is called image-based lining. And it's based on images like HDRI, which will act as a background for our scene, but also they can create lining and reflections. So they're used for many purposes. And thanks to this technique, which is really easy and fast, we can create product design, architecture design really fast. And we can do it with real-time render as well as path tracing render in Twinmotion. So you can see here a series of examples using different HDRIs, but with the same scene. So everything changes, the lighting, the background, the reflections. So with just a few clicks, we can create a really nice rendering for our product. And again, it can be used for many purposes. Now we can also use like a studio setup like this. We can use HDRIs to simulate a studio set or an interior, or also an outdoor scene. So we focus more on outdoor scenes in the previous videos using the sun, the sky, the moon, and the procedural sun and sky in Twinmotion. But in this lesson right here, we're gonna focus more on type of lighting that is good for a studio set, a studio lighting. We're gonna explore the artificial lights, and so we're not gonna use HDRIs. So we're gonna use a different technique to illuminate our scene, to create our scene illumination or lighting. So these are a series of snapshots that I took to show you again the difference between the various HDRIs and real-time and path tracing. They're not so different in this case. And this is the scene I'm gonna use here, and I'm gonna show you here in the library. If you go in the lights library, we have a series of lights. We have the standard lights, and then we have also the IES lights. Now these IES are basically different types of spotlights that can be used more for like interior design. So when you need to do interiors, on the top you find instead the main lights, which are the omnidirectional spotlight, the area, and the neon light. So we're gonna see how can we work with them and how we can use them to create a nice lighting. And we can do product design with this. We can do something that is also in TV shows, movies. So we can simulate everything we need in a studio. Now, if we move around, in the previous video, we also started to work with materials. We started to work with glasses and also with car paint materials, with new car paint materials, with new advanced design. In this video, we're gonna like choose a single subject, like a girl here, and these are models that can be found in the Twinmotion libraries, and we're gonna use that as a model, so as a subject. So all you need, just like in HDRI, is an environment and a subject. But this time the environment and the lights will be there, will not be inside the image. And just to show you again, the car paint, it looks really beautiful when we get really close. We can see the flakes and all the advanced effects that this material has. And also you can create like this variation of colors. So it's really beautiful when you see it. Now, this model here, again, is from Twinmotion library, but there is a clear difference between models that you import. So sometimes models that you find on the web, that you find on Sketchfab, are way more accurate than the ones that you find in Twinmotion, and perhaps you want to use your own products, your own models. You can see I've also increased the path tracer quality to high, and this is the path tracer rendering. And I've also added some neon lights, some materials, which are called emissive materials, and they can generate light. And I'm going to show you also how you can use those. Now, if I go in my favorite, if you want to use the models that I'm using right here, these are the models that I'm using. It's a couple of Lamborghinis in Sketchfab. So if I open up here, I will show you the page and where I got those. But you can just search for them. Just search for Lamborghini in Sketchfab or this Porsche, and you find there all the information, and we saw the author is also indicated down there. So just to show you where got this? Well, I got this from Twinmotion, but they're from Sketchfab and they are way more accurate. So a good render starts with a good 3D model. This is another one in a laptop. So if you want to do like product design, you can use some product that you have or something that you find in Sketchfab. So these models are really accurate. They have a lot of materials. They have a lot of parts. So you can work with each single part of the car and they look really realistic. So when you have a beautiful model like this, it's really easy to create a beautiful rendering, and it's just few clicks. Now, just to show you how you can add an emissive material, you need to go to the libraries and again materials, and well, these are the car paint. So you can see if you click and drag, it's gonna add that material just to the part that you wanna use. Now, this is good. Otherwise, if you have one single material for all the model, you cannot do that. You need to check if the model has different parts. And if we go in materials and neons, these are emissive materials. So you can click and drag them, and you can see some of these are also animated. Now, you won't see the animation again when you use path tracing. So I'm gonna stop the path tracing right now, and you can see it's animated. So when I use real-time render, some materials can be animated, can be used for animations. Now, these first two instead are static emissive material, and you can see I can click and drag it anywhere. So if I need to place it in a spotlight inside, well, behind the glass here, well, to do that, first of all, I'm gonna decrease the speed of my navigation because I need to do something really accurate. So I'm gonna go in inspect speed or handle speed. You can see I will go through the glass, and now I can see the emissive material right there, the missing area. So I'm gonna click and drag, and this is now gonna become a light, because when you apply a light material, an emissive material to an object, that object is gonna become a light, but it's gonna have a shape. So it's kind of creating a light that will get the shape of that mesh. And you can change the color of this material just as a basic material. And the only difference, let me assign this pink material right here. The only difference is that in the details, you have a lot of properties that are specific for light. So with the neon material, you can change also the intensity and how the light will appear. So if you see here, this is the glow, and essentially this is the intensity of the light. So if I push this up, let's say to 1000, you can see it will really start to become a real light effect. And then you have temperature, saturation, gamma. You also have this lift, which is going to create this effect, and you can adjust the coloring with the lift, so it's going to create like a gradient light, really beautiful. So we saw that we can get HDRIs from Polyhaven in the previous video, and again we focus more on outdoors. So again, let's go back to Polyhaven, and here we can find a lot of models. We can find textures for materials, and we can find HDRIs. So, well, depending on what we are looking for, we can just click on the link here. So if we want HDRI, we're gonna go to directly there on texture or models. You can take some models also from here if you wanna create a studio lighting, as we're gonna do. So we focus on outdoor scenarios in the previous videos, but right now we're gonna switch in indoor. But we're not gonna use like an apartment or something like that. We're gonna use a studio because we're gonna get the basic of the artificial lights in order to understand them completely, and we're gonna do this like analytical way. So we're gonna do an analysis of the various lights. But if you want, you can, instead of creating a 3D environment of a studio with the 3D lights, you can just drop in a studio HDRI, and that's going to create basically everything for you. It's going to create, again, the background, the lights, and the reflections, so everything you need. So just to make a test, I'm going to download here 4K EXR, and I'm going to save it in my Polyhaven folder, in my HDRI folder. I'm going to save this other type of file, which can be used. You can use HDR format, or you can use EXR. So we're going to start with, again, the HDRI, like we did in the previous video, and then we're going to move forward